There is a spiritual meaning of why Jesus called the Holy Spirit a He. And Jesus himself explains why he used that phrase. So it should not be hard for a humble person that just reads to see that. How Jesus explained what he meant by saying the title He, referring to the Holy Spirit. Remember, the truth is simple. It's only prideful ones who try to make it complicated. At 1 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 15, it speaks about this, how the spiritual man examines all. But at 1 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 14, it speaks about how the physical man can't understand the spiritual things because he doesn't examine it. He doesn't examine all things. How can you make a puzzle picture be put together if you don't put all the pieces together? Now, if someone says to you, John chapter 6 verse 13 is where Jesus referred to the Holy Spirit as He, and they say that, and they say that that's proof that the Holy Spirit is a person, you can ask them in a humble way, how does the word He explain that the Holy Spirit is a spirit that has its own independent thinking ability? I'm going to say that again. You can ask a person who try to say, well, in John chapter 6 verse 13, see, it says Jesus made reference to the Holy Spirit being called a He. Okay, Jesus says the Holy Spirit is a He, calls it a He. But how does that word He explain that the Holy Spirit is a spirit that has its own independent thinking ability? Because Jesus is talking about a spiritual meaning when he calls the Holy Spirit a He. And he explains it. He says the Spirit of truth. So anytime somebody makes reference to that, yeah, do you know what He means? They're going to be like, well, I really don't know. Like, He literally is explained to mean the Spirit of the truth. And also, the same rule of calling something spiritual a He don't apply, because a spirit is not a male or female. So definitely, the small details are important. And at Revelation chapter 22 verses 19, that's Revelation chapter 22 verse 19, the Bible tells its readers not to believe anything that goes beyond what's written, and not to add. Don't add or take away. Don't do it. Go by what's in black and white. So if someone says John chapter 6 verse 13 says the Holy Spirit is a He, I would ask them again. You can ask them something else like this. What does the term He means in this instance, in this point? Now, more than likely, they won't know that answer. Again, that's where you can point out, well, Jesus, in this point, this same point you're trying to show me, clearly explains how He says, but when He, the Spirit of truth. See? So He is the Spirit of truth. It doesn't say He is an independent being from heaven that's a God. It doesn't say that. Don't add to the meaning that's not explained by Jesus. Jesus explained what He means. Just like He explained at John chapter 11, verses 11 through 14, how when Lazarus was asleep, Jesus explained what He meant by when He said Lazarus was asleep. So Jesus doesn't just say something. He says it and he later on explains it. Or he explains it at that moment. And at John chapter 16 verse 3, he explains it in the same point. But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, simple, he represents the Spirit of truth. Not a person, but a spirit.